Okay, we're beginning. We're on Samich Ches Amid Beis. Now, it behooves us to go through the dialogue that was between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Akiva. So, guys, listen up. We're dealing with the concept of whether Machshirei Mitzvah Adoicha Shabbos, when you bring the Pesach on Shabbos. Everyone holds the Shechita is Docha, as we saw. We learn out from Tamid. By Tamid, it's Docha Shabbos, and it says the word Elasai. So too by Pesach, where it says the word Elasai, the Shechita is Docha. That everyone holds. The question is, let's say you blew it. You did not bring your korban Pesach from before Shabbos, so you're gonna have to bring it there. You're gonna have to bring it there. Can you bring it there on Shabbos? Says Rabbi Eliezer, of course you could. Machshirei mitzvah is doicha, just like by Mila, you can bring the knife, you can make the knife. Huadin, you can bring the korban from outside the tchum, or you can carry it. And we saw yesterday, you can cut off a wart to go ahead and make the animal roif to be a korban, to take off that mum, that blemish that it has. Said Rabbi Eliezer to Sam Chesame Beis in Hakdama. Says Rabbi Eliezer, Madoch a mitzvah the oraisa, such as shchitas daicha, certainly a shvus, such as carrying an animal which can carry itself, or outside the tchum, which is the rabbanon, should be daicha. Said Rabbi Yeshua to him, what about Yom Tif? Yom Tif is what? Is in fact is rishus. Rabbi Yeshua says Yom Tif is a rishus. L'chayra pashtus is a rishus, and it's daicha. And you can cook on Yom Tif, but you can't go ahead and be over on a shvus on Yom Tif. So Rabbi Eliezer said incredulously, how can you compare the two? I'm talking about a mitzvah of being korban Pesach, and you're speaking about cooking, which is a rishus. To that, the Gemara replied yesterday. Rabbi Yehuda goes according to his shita that cooking is a mitzvah. Simchas Yom Tov is a mitzvah. So in Mele, you have a corollary. Just like you can go ahead and check the Pesach, so too you can cook. And cooking shvus is not doicha. So who are by korban Pesach? It's not doicha. Rabbi Akiva joined the fray, and he said, "Hazah." According to you, if it's a machshirei mitzvah, hazah on a person that's tamei, the sprinkling hazah, the sprinkling of the paraduma on day 7 should be daicha in order to facilitate bringing the korban. Says, and we know it's not. Says Rabbi Eliezer, then it should be. Then Rabbi Eliezer says, then it should be, and that's an important point. Then it should be. Said Rabbi Akiva, if you're going to say that, let's go the other direction. Just like hazah does not go ahead and push off, so too shchita doesn't push off. Meaning, just like you can't sprinkle on Shabbos, you can't bring a korban Pesach on Shabbos. That's what Rabbi Eliezer says. What are you talking about? Yeah, of course you bring. So now what we're going to do in the Gemara, guys, we're going to read between the lines of the dialogue that I just presented to you, right, piece by piece. We're going to go ahead and fit in the other pieces along the way, okay? So we're starting off on the bottom. Amar Ravashi, Ulamai Dekama Rabbi Eliezer, 3 lines from the bottom. Ulamai Dekama Rabbi Eliezer Nami, Yontif Rishus Islay Pircha. Even according to Rabbi Eliezer, who told Rabbi Yeshua, how can you compare cooking, which is rishus, to bringing the Pesach, which is a mitzvah? Even so, it's still a pircha on his kal v'chomer. What's the pircha? Uma yontif shehita boy malacha shel rishus. Yontif, we let you cook, and this is going according to the Havamina that it wasn't a simchas yontif, that it wasn't a mitzvah associated with yontif. It was simply a rishus, and nonetheless, like hit the shvus she'ima, that we didn't permit the shvus with it. Shabbos shloi hit the boy ela malacha shal mitzvah. Shabbos that you only permitted malacha. Einoi din shloi tata shvus she'ima. Is it not a din that you shouldn't permit a shvus with it? So he said that l'chara, even if you're going to tell me it's a rishus, we should go ahead and say that what? It's a good kasha on you, Rebbe Eliezer. Rebbe Eliezer says, well, 1 second, you can't compare shvusim, a shvusim, a mitzvah to stam shvus, cooking to bringing a korban, to carrying a korban. Carrying a korban is a shvusim, a mitzvah. Cutting off a mum is a wart, is a mitzvah. Cooking, according to Pashtus, is no mitzvah at all. It's total rishus. So Rabbi Eliezer said, what reports to Rabbi Yeshua, shvus the mitzvah adif, a shvus associated with the mitzvah, right, is adif. Okay, so now Tanya, now with Brisa, and again we're filling in the gaps of the conversation between the two. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, umali imdachu machshirei mitzvah shela acha shchita. You're telling me after the shchita, correct? You, Rabbi Yeshua Amaida, you, Rabbi Akiva Amaida, there are shvusim that are mutter. For example, according to Rashi, we said yesterday, you're able to perforate the intestine and squeeze out the waste. That's a shvus. That's permitted. No one disagrees. Burning the chalavin and the is a shvus. No one, according to Tosfos, no one disagrees. Says Rabbi Eliezer, what's the difference? A shvus after the shchita, you're moda, you agree, is doicha. So what's the difference? A shvus before the mitzvah. What's the difference? A shvus carrying it, going ahead and carrying it on your shoulders, or bringing it for tzachum, or cutting off a wart. Once the shvus is permitted afterwards, it should be permitted before, with the svara being madach when the mitzvah is done already. You're permitted to do it. Certainly a shvus which should facilitate performing the mitzvah, you should be able to do. Once you shechted the current Pesach, you could say it's shechted. Leave the kroivim. Go ahead and don't burn it. Just leave it. Yet we say you go ahead and perform it. Certainly a shvus which you would need to perform the mitzvah, such as bringing the carbon there, you should be able to perform. That seems to be a very good reason according to Rabbi Eliezer. So says the Gemara inside. Let's see it again. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer, umali imdachu machshirei mitzvah shalach shchita machshirei mitzvah, the preparation of a mitzvah. I said shvus. It really is machshirei mitzvah, guys. Shvus is the wrong word. Machshirei mitzvah, preparation for a mitzvah. Leave out the shvus is not true. Machshirei mitzvah. So machshirei mitzvah, such as again burning the carbon, according to Tosfos, according to Rashi, squeezing out the waste, is permitted after the shchita, right? This avid lay mitzvah, when the mitzvah is done already, la yidchu machshirei mitzvah shelafnei shchita as a Shabbos. Should we not go ahead and push off the machshirei mitzvah that would enable us to perform the mitzvah before Shabbos?
So, Rabbi, why doesn't this apply to a shofar on Shabbos Rosh Hashanah?
Shema Yavrim Dal Amis. Otherwise, it would be allowed, no problem. Shema Yavrim. The Svar again in Hilchas Shabbos we learned. This din of Sheva Yamirenu is such a powerful tool. You would think, come on, Bisman Hazeh, I want to blow the shofar, it's a mitzvah. I want to do the lulav, it's a mitzvah. I can't carry it. We said, because we spoke out in Hilchas Shabbos many times, Steve, that Haitzah is a malacha garua. Haitzah is a malacha that's so easy to go over. We spoke out in Zarua, there's no change in the object. So therefore, they're very machmir. In fact, we're going to see over here that also they're going to bring in Shem Yavirenu. That's why you can't do Azah. Maybe you'll carry the paraduma water 4 amas. So it does come into play. It's very interesting how it comes into play. Okay, so right now we're holding very geschmack, guys. Right now we're holding the conversation between the two. Rabbi Eliezer apparently says something very pertinent to Rabbi Akiva. Again, Rabbi Akiva is joining the fray now. Until he was speaking to Rabbi Yeshua, now Rabbi Akiva joining the fray with Hazah, and he says, Rabbi Eliezer says the following: Madach mashirei mitzvah. After the fact, after you do the mitzvah, is daicha. Certainly, machshirei mitzvah, which would facilitate me performing it, ain't a din that it should not be daicha. And we're on Samech Tes. For those people that are joining now, we're on Samech Tes Amid Aleph. About 5 lines down. Rabbi Kiva says to Rabbi Eliezer, the Mali in Dachu Machshir Mitzvah Shel Acha Shchita is a Shabbos. Why? Shari Dachsel Shchita is a Shabbos. Taima Yidchu Machshir Mitzvah Shel Afnei Shchita is a Shabbos. Shali Dachsel Shchita is a Shabbos. Says Rabbi Akiva, I have a very good svara to disagree with you. Once the mitzvah is done, once the shchita is done, that anything associated with it, I could perform. So I did a shchita. I could therefore go ahead and get rid of the waste by making holes or going ahead and pushing it out. Why? I did the mitzvah already. Finished the job. I can go ahead and burn it. Finish the job. Machshiri mitzvah. Once the mitzvah is done, I can finish it. Masha'en came when I didn't do the mitzvah yet. Then I can't go ahead and bring the carbon to do the mitzvah. So I can tell you you want to say Rabbi Eliezer, guys, if Madach Mashir Mitzvah afterwards works, certainly before works, I can tell you another svara. It works afterwards because I did the mitzvah and this is part of the mitzvah. But where I did do the mitzvah yet, maybe the Machshira does not allow me to perform the mitzvah. You're saying the opposite. You're saying Machshirin that should help me perform it. I can say no. I can say once I did it, then I can do the Machshirim. But in order to do it in the first place, not. That's what Rabbi Akiva would retort to Rabbi Eliezer. In fact, in other words, this is the lines, the Bryce adding in the conversation that is not stated in our Mishnah. Again, for those who are joining late, I went through the conversation of the between Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua, and Rabbi Akiva, and we're filling in the blanks. Now Rabbi Akiva told me something else, which is Rabbi Eliezer does away with quickly. What does he say to him? Davar acher. Shema yimtza zevach pasel. Maybe the reason you can't carry it from outside, guys, maybe the reason you can't carry it from outside, maybe if you shecht it, you're going to find it's pasel. Maybe the reason you can't cut off the mum is because maybe you'll shecht it and find it pasel. So, v'nimtza mechalas haShabbos l'mafreya, and you ended up being mechalas Shabbos for nothing. Said Rabbi Eliezer to him, Ihachi, if that's what you're worried about, Mishchat nami le nishchat. Then you should be able to shecht. Shema yimtza zevach pasel. If you're chayish for what? The zevach pasel, don't even, and no one disagrees about the shechita. Everyone holds the shechita can be done. So this retort that Rabbi Eliezer tried to go ahead and convince Rabbi Akiva to convince Rabbi Eliezer, that didn't work. That didn't work. Says the Gemara, Ella, what happened? Ha'amalei bereisha. Rabbi, in the conversation, said Rabbi, again, let's go through it outside. Said Rabbi Eliezer, Machshiri mitzvah doicha. You can bring it from outside the tchum, you can carry it, you can cut off the wart, the doicha. Says Rabbi Yeshua, they're not. Says Rabbi Akiva, they're not. Says Rabbi Akiva to Rabbi Eliezer, how could you allow to carry it? How could you allow to cut off the wart? Maybe you'll shecht it, find it's puzzle, and you would have been mechal Shabbos for nothing. Says Rabbi Eliezer, I'll one up you. Then how could you shecht it? Maybe you'll find it ruined. And then Mela, and everyone holds that. So Rabbi Akiva failed with that retort, and then he went ahead and then he told him the following: Mali, you can go ahead and do machshirin of burning the carbon or getting rid of the waste after you perform the mitzvah. Masha'en came, in order to do the mitzvah, maybe you would not let you go ahead, cut off a mum or bring it from outside the tchum or carry it. So that's what Gemara says. So Elo ha'amalei bereisha. First, Rabbi Akiva told him this thing about zevach pasel. U'parche. And Rabbi Eliezer asked him, is kasha. And then he said, hach, the maliyim dachu, you know why it's afterwards? Because he did the mitzvah already. And that's the conversation. So that we filled in the blanks between in the Mishnah between the conversation between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Okay, now, continuing the conversation, what does Rabbi Eliezer say? He says, you're right. Just like I permitted bringing the Korban Pesach, just like I permitted bringing it from outside of the Chum, just like I permitted cutting off the board, I also permit Hazah. You, Rabbi Akiva, want a taina. Look, Hazah is a shvus, and it's not doicha. If a person is tamei mace on the seventh day, we won't do Hazah to facilitate him bringing the Korban Pesach in the evening. We won't allow it. That says Rabbi Akiva. So how are you going to allow a shvus? Says Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Eliezer, inachinami, I'll allow the Hazah. I'll allow the Hazah. Why did Rabbi Akiva say to him? Why don't you go in this direction? Just like Hazah is not permitted, Shechita is not permitted. Just like Hazah, a shvus is not permitted, certainly a malacha is not permitted. And Rabbi Eliezer said incredulously, what are you talking about, Akiva? You're being oikar pasuk from the Torah. We learned that what? We learned that Korban Pesach from Talmud that clearly Shechita is permitted. Let's fill in some blanks over here. Very, very, very scary Gemara. Scary Gemara. Heisha Rabbi Akiva v'Amar Hazah tochiach. Hazah will disprove you. How will that disprove? Tanya. Amar Rabbi Eliezer. Akiva, Bishchita hashivtani, right? Bishchita, you're shepherding me that what? You're telling me some foolish kal v'chaymer that if hazah is not permitted, then shchita should be permitted. Then pshchita tehei misasai, his misa should be bishchita. And Rabbi Akiva, we know, ended up in a very, very, very not good way. Amalei Rebbe said Rabbi Akiva to Rabbi Eliezer, Al tachbireni b'shas hadin, do not deny. Al tachbireni b'shas hadin, do not deny me b'shas hadin. Kach mekublani mincha. I received from you that azosh was he ve'ena doiches Shabbos. In other words, you want to say now, Rabbi Eliezer, that hazah should be doicha, and you should be able to spritz and allow a tamei mace on the 7th day of Erev Pesach, that's on Shabbos, to go ahead and bring a carbon. But you taught me that hazah is not permitted. You're changing gears now. Al tachbireni, don't deny that you taught me shvus is asa. Fred the Gemara, since Rabbi Eliezer Taka taught Rabbi Akiva that hazah is asa, my time of kahadabe. Why in our Mishnah is he saying einachinami? Just like what? Carrying is permitted, so too hazah is permitted. Why is he changing his mind if he taught Rabbi Akiva his Talmud Muvik the other way? So Amma Ula, Rabbi Eliezer ka'agmarei hazah de truma. Rabbi Eliezer, he taught him not across the board that every hazah is not permitted. He said it's not permitted to facilitate eating truma. The truma guf loydach Shabbos. Separation of truma is not doicha Shabbos. So if a kohen is tamei, we won't go ahead and do hazah to facilitate him eating truma. However, le'inyan korban Pesach, which is a mitzvah on Shabbos, einachinami, it could be doicha. So, and Rabbi Akiva, you're mixing up two things. You're mixing up hazah across the board by saying I taught this to you. I only taught it to you in truma. I didn't teach it to you in what? Eating Pesach. By truma you can't spritz, but by korban Pesach to bring it you could spritz. Rabbi Akiva nami ki oisvei hazah the truma oisvei shehi mitzvah v'hi mishum shvus. He said no. He asked him from what? He said he held truma was a mitzvah, and therefore he asked him. For who Rabbi Eliezer Sava hazah the Pesach kamaisav law, and he made a mistake. He thought he was asking him from Pesach. So the Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Eliezer thought Rabbi Akiva was asking him from Pesach. Really, Rabbi Akiva was asking him about Truma, which he had taught him. And he said, "Why? I never taught you that. But why? I never taught you that. I never taught you that about Pesach." So that was in the dialogue in the Mishnah. Says Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua to Rabbi Akiva to Rabbi Eliezer, you say that you can carry chutz l'tchum or cut of a what, right? And that's doicha. Then hazah should be doicha also. And you taught me hazah a truma is not doicha. And Rabbi Eliezer says, I taught you truma is not doicha. I never taught you Pesach's not doicha. We're filling in the blanks of the Mishnah. We're filling in the blanks of the Mishnah. Now, says the Gemara, Mosav Rabba. Rabbi asks a question. And here Rabbi Akiva clearly says it's not speaking about truma. Mosav Rabba, Heishav Rabbi Akiva v'Amar, Hazas Tamei Meis Teichiach. The spritzing on a mace will disprove you that shvus is not doicha. Shechal shvi shaloi liyos b'Shabbos ube'erev Pesach shehi mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to bring the carbon. It's on erev Pesach is on Shabbos. If I don't spritz, he's finished, and we won't let you spritz. V'hi mishum shvus ve'ina doicha Shabbos. So how can you tell me that carrying is doicha Shabbos? So now you can't tell me it's speaking about truma. Because Rabbi Akiva, the Brisa, verbalized clearly we're speaking about Tamei Meis. And nonetheless, Rabbi Eliezer, you taught us that. You taught me that hazah for a mitzvah of Korban Pesach, when you're Tamei on Shabbos and it's Erev Pesach, you can't spritz. You taught it to me. So if you can't spritz, how can you carry it from outside the Tchum? Elavadai hazah the Pesach agmrei. Rabbi Eliezer taught him. Now you got a kasha, guys. My time of kaparafle, right? Rabbi Eliezer. Oh, so in the Mishnah, if he taught it to him, right? Why is Rabbi Eliezer saying that he's having a charata? Says Rabbi Eliezer gamrei. Rabbi Eliezer taught it to him, but it's akale. He forgot it. Guys, Rabbi Akiva was trying to remind Rabbi Eliezer that he had taught them this. And Rabbi obviously forgot it because he said to him, "Enochinami, it is doicha." And Rabbi Akiva says, "How can you say it's doicha?" So what did Rabbi Akiva do? He didn't say, "Rabbi, you taught us otherwise." He didn't want to go ahead and be quote unquote a mechutzif, so to say. So what did he do? He told him something obvious, and he would think that would jar his memory. What did he tell him? Madoch hazah is not doicha, so therefore shchita, which is the raisa, even though he knew clearly that shchita is doicha. Rabbi Akiva taught Rabbi Eliezer an obvious kal v'chomer that's not true, with the hope that Rabbi Eliezer would remember teaching him that hazah is not permitted. So what did he tell him? Hazah is not permitted, so certainly shchita shouldn't be permitted. So that's what he told it then. Says the Gemara. For us, Rabbi Akiva, lat kure, gamre, and Rabbi Akiva came along and he wanted to remind Rabbi Eliezer, what he had taught him about that hazah is also by bringing a reverse kal v'chomer. What's the reverse kal v'chomer? Ma the hazah is not doicha, certainly shchita shouldn't be doicha. Why don't you just say to him openly, Rabbi, you taught me otherwise. How could you say hazah is doicha? You taught me hazah is not doicha. And just like hazah is not doicha, carrying it and cutting off walk shouldn't be doicha. No. And for the Gemara, sava lav urcha ara. Savala is lav urcha ara. It's takanat. Good? It's not. Now, question. If you, Rabbi Eliezer, hold that hazah, you moida, is asa, why do you hold by the other ones it's permitted? Why do you hold the other ones it's permitted? Why do you hold the other ones it's permitted, right? So that's what the Gemara says. Fred the Gemara kasha. Says the Gemara, Kasha Michti, Tilto, the Hazah my time aloy dachi Shabbos. Why is Hazah not dachi Shabbos? Steve, listen up. Why is Hazah not dachi Shabbos? Michti, Tiltuli ba'almuhu, Tidchi Shabbos. In other words, according to the Rabbanan, who hold that there's a problem of ticking Gavra over here, guys. But ticking Gavra is a very remote, the Rabbanan din. Ticking Gavra. You're gonna say because of Tikkun Gavra, you're not gonna go ahead and do hazah on him to Mr. Korban Pesach. It seems to be a remote idea. So the Gemara offers a different reason. Michti, tiltuli ba'almahu, carrying it, right? Carrying it is what is just is a muktzah. Titchi Shabbos, let it be Dacha Shabbos. That's the kasha. Let it be Dacha Shabbos.
They don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway. Michti tiltuli ba'almahu tidchi Shabbos. Let it be Dacha Shabbos. Says Mishum Pesach. Amar Rabba says Rabba Gezeira Shemi Yetlenu v'Yavenu Arba Amas B'Shus Aravim. What do we worry about? You're going to go ahead, take the. As I told Steve, this Megillah, Shaifa, Lulav, all Shemi Yavrian. You're going to go ahead. Whatever. Let Rabbi Eliezer na'avrei. Let Rabbi Eliezer carry it. The Amar Rabbi Eliezer machshiri mitzvah doiches Shabbos. So no, the Gemara is asking, what's the chilik between hazah that's not doicha, hazah is not doicha, and carrying on your shoulders, bringing it from outside the tchum, cutting off. What's the difference? Guys, listen up. When will we go ahead and say machshir Mrs. doicha? That's when the person's in the ballpark. So here I am. I'm squeaky clean and tahar. The only problem is I don't have my carbon. Says Rabbi Eliezer, no problem. Bring it. It's a shvus. It's a shvus. For you to do the mitzvah, we'll let you do it. Why? You're in the ballpark. But where the person's tamei, the loy chazi, then what do we say? Kuf chazi for Rami Chubala. Aval hacha over here by tamei mace on the seventh day. The gavre gufu lechaze. The person himself is not in the ballpark. Loy Rami chiyuv alei. The chiyuv is not on us to go ahead and facilitate it. Where what? He's in the ballpark. We'll help him do the mitzvah. Where he's not in the ballpark, it's a two-step process. I got to go ahead and be machshe him to do the mitzvah. That we won't do. Again, this is very important for what the share ongoing in the share. So again, we're making a chilik between two shvusim, hazah and machshiri mitzvah. Machshiri mitzvah to prepare to go ahead and bring it from outside, to go ahead and cut off the wart where he is seen, that we will do. To go ahead and make him roy by going ahead and doing hazah, that we won't do. That's the chilik between the two. That's the chilik between the two. Says Rashi, Heicha the Gabi Chazi, Kigoin Lehevi Izem Lamila, for example, to bring a knife to do a milah, Derech Rishus Harabim. By the way, Rishus Harabim, Shekvar Tinaik Roy Lamo, because it's 8 days and the Tinaik is Roy Lamo. Again, this is going back to Machshirei Milah, the machlokes between Rebbe Eliezer and the Chachamim regarding what? Whether Machshirei Milah is Doicha Shabbos. Aval Heicha the Gavra Leichazi, Kigoin Hai Tamei, Leiramya Chiyuve Alei. The Chiyuv is not on him. The Ein Elu Machshirei Mitzvah. The lumdus is, guys, once he is Tamei, he is not Chayiv in the mitzvah. If he's not Chayiv in the mitzvah, it's not Machshirei Mitzvah. You hear? Machshirei mitzvah is exactly what it sounds like. It's the hechsha, it's the preparation for a mitzvah. That's when he's seen to be the mitzvah. He's squeaky clean, he's tahar. That then is the machshirin of the mitzvah. But if in fact he's tamei, then he is not in the ballpark. He's pata. He's tamei, guys. He's pata. If he's pata, it's not machshirei mitzvah. It's chilul Shabbos. You hear? You hear the hezbollah? It's not machshirei mitzvah. It's chilul Shabbos. There is no mitzvah. That's the chilik between the two. Beautiful pshat in Rashi. Rashi is that little nakuda. Ve'ein elu machshirei mitzvah. It's not considered machshirei mitzvah. Why? Because there is no mitzvah. He's potter. The lashon of the Gemara, guys. There is no chiyuv on him. There is no chiyuv on him. Aval hacha the gavra gufei lechazi over here leirami chiyuv alei. Amar Rabba the div Rebbe Eliezer. Okay, now so you're telling me like Rebbe Eliezer, but there's no chiyuv on the person, then there's no reason to do machshirei mitzvah. Good. Now the div Rebbe Eliezer cotton bari, a cotton that is healthy. Mechamim lechamim lebrasai. If there's no water on Shabbos ready, we'll heat up the water to go ahead and heat up the water to make sure he stays healthy, right? So guys, he's in the ballpark. He's a healthy baby. You forgot to heat up water, yes? So therefore, you should be able to heat water on Shabbos with the svara being, it's machshirei mitzvah. Since it's a healthy baby, he's in the ballpark of the mitzvah, just like what? Just like the squeaky clean guys to do the Korban Pesach. So you should be able to heat it up. Ulamoyla b'Shabbos. The chazile cotton chayla. What about a sick cotton who's not in the ballpark? Then eimach l'chamin livraisai ulamoyla. Dolei chazile. That would make sense. In other words, the sick cotton is like the tamei. There's no chiyuv. The healthy child is like the squeaky clean tahar. Amar Rava v'ibarihu lama lechamin lavraisai. Good kasha. If he's healthy, why do you have to cook up water? You don't take medicine unless you're sick, right? But why you have to eat up water? Ella Amar Rava, says Rava, Hakol Chulin Chaylin Eitzel Mila. Okay. Echad cotton bari v'echad cotton chayla. When it comes to Mila, even if you're healthy, you're considered a chayla. Memela, you won't, even a healthy child, it won't be considered machshirei mitzvah. Because Eitzel, the Mila, everyone is considered a chayla. So you have a gezeres hakaseh that you do the Mila, but the machshirei mitzvah would not be permitted. Again, we're going to ask on the same idea that Rabbi Eliezer says, where you're not in the ballpark, right? You're out. Oral Shlomoel, this is an adult. There's no reason for him to be not Gemala. So he's an oral. He should have gone, and he should have gone ahead and done a bris milah, and he didn't. And as a result, he can't bring the Korban Pesach. Halach is einish kares. It's an einish kares. Now before we see the Gemara, let's fair ice, guys. An oral, is he in the ballpark? What's Rebbe Eliezer's din if he's not in the ballpark? So why is he chayiv kares? That's going to be the kasha, right? That's going to be the kasha. Oral shalei mol einish karis. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says that. Fred Marahacha, the Gavra Gufale Chazi. He's not in the ballpark. He's Tameh, right? The exact same thing as Tameh. He's an oral. The Katani Orange Karis. Alma Romi Chiyuv Aleha. Here was a chiyuv to be gemalit beforehand. So why didn't he do it? So too, right? Amarava Kasav Rebbe. So that's the kasha. That's the kasha. Let's see Rashi, guys. First wide line. Einish Karis. Bishvil Sheyiroy L'taking. In order that he's right to be taking, mivav shois, he could have done a mila before vav's hit. The shchitas pesach ulamayla. V'lei nitka, and he wasn't attacking himself. V'lei dami l'tamei ushahay b'derech l'chayka she'en yichel m'taking b'ois sheishas. The two classic examples of people who are pata and go to Pesach Sheni is in. I'm saying it now. I'm going to repeat it again in a few minutes. Is in Perik. By midbar perik test, pashas baloischa, pasuk yud gimel. V'la'ish asher hu tahar, a person that is tahar, hu b'derech le'haya, and he wasn't on the derech, meaning he wasn't far away. V'chada lasos pesach, and he refrains from being the korban pesach. V'nichvasa nefesh yimiamecha, one of the only two mitzvahs essay that carry with it the penalty of kares. The other one, of course, is milah. So we said tamei is one excuse. Derech HaChaik is another excuse. Oral is not an excuse. That we're saying it right now. Now, you'll say the following. Why? They're all not in the ballpark. Continues Rashi. It's not the two that the pasuk singles out. They can't possibly be talking at that time. And before that, there wasn't a chiyuv on them for 6.5 hours, which is the Zman of the Shechita. Alma, here's the kasha. Afa gavur chazi, even though they're not in the ballpark, the oral's not in the ballpark. Rami mitzvah lay, there's a mitzvah on him. Hecha de efshlim mitaking, where it's possible in mitaking. Ulazon nami titcha Shabbos on mitzvah rami olel mitaking. Guys, here's the kasha. In both cases, oral and tamei, what can they do? One can go ahead and have a bris milah. One can have a spritz on him. And when the evening comes, they'll both be able to eat the korban pesach. Good. So you're telling me, Rabbi Eliezer, by hazah, the tamei is what? There's no chiyuv. Why is there no chiyuv? Why is no chiyuv by the tamei? Why? Because he's not in the ballpark. Good. Masha'en came by oral, even though there's no chiyuv, because he's not in the ballpark, you're telling me he's chayiv. How do you reconcile oral versus hazah? By hazah, you're telling me he's pata. Why? It's not machshirei mitzvah, because there is no mitzvah, he's tamei. Yet by oral, you're telling me he's chayiv kares. He's not a mitzvah, he's an oral. What's the difference between the two? So it says the Gemara, Amar Rabba, Kasav Rebbe Eliezer, ain't shoichnim v'zorkin al tamei sheretz. Who had tamei sheretz? Who had been what? Tamei meis. If it's Pesach's on Shabbos, we won't do a hazah. We won't let him bring the korban on the smach to do a hazah. We won't let him. He didn't. If he doesn't do a hazah, we won't shech the Pesach. We won't do zrika. We won't allow it. We won't allow it. Now, there's a few. This Gemara is not easy. So watch. We won't shecht or do the zrika for a person, a tamei sheretz who had been tamei meis. We won't do the hazah for the mace. We won't do the zrika for the mace. We won't do the zrika for the tamei sheretz. Why now? V'chol she'ena biyachid, v'chol she'ilu biyachid nitche. Now, what does that mean? We're going to take these people and push them off to Pesach Sheni. If we're not going to shech the korban Pesach for them, then obviously this yachid is pushed off to Pesach Sheni. B'tzibur avdei b'tumah. The corollary, the tzibur, when the Pesach, the individual is pushed off to Pesach Sheni, the tzibur brings the b'tumah. That was that we said the other day. The ish nitchel Pesach Sheni. The einat tzibur nitchel Pesach Sheni. That was the whole Gemara we had. Good. So right now, let's go. Let's go. We have so far. Rabbi Eliezer is of the opinion we won't let you do a zrika for a person that's tamei. Good. What are we doing with him? We're pushing him off the Pesach Sheni. The tzibur in that scenario would be able to bring Pesach Rishon. V'chol milsa de issa b'tzibur, issa b'yachid. Anything that what is b'tzibur, anything that is b'tzibur, is b'yachid. Anything that is b'tzibur is going to be b'yachid. V'chol milsa de lessa b'tzibur, lessa b'yachid. What does that mean? Arelis, an oral. The kula tzibur arelin ninu. If all the tzibur are arelin, guys, are we going to push them off the Pesach Sheni? Nope. The ki'ula tzibur arelin ninu. Amrina lahu. Kumu mahulu nafshaychu. Go get up and have a bris. Now again, a yachid is going to be just like the tzibur. That's the whole. Everything that's with the tzibur is with the yachid. Good. If everyone, again, if the tzibur was all arelim, they're not going to Pesach Sheni, guys. They're not going to Pesach Sheni. We say that what we're not. In other words, we're not going to bring the. We're going to tell them what. Go ahead, fix yourself up for Avdi Pischa and make your Pesach. Yochid nami aminale. We tell the Yochid, kum moil. Go fix yourself up for Avdi Pischa and bring your Pesach. V'loy moil, right? Then noinish karis. Tuma, however, tuma. The ikula tzibura tameim ninu. If all the tzibur were not arelim, all the tzibur were tameim, loy madin alayhu, right? We don't sprinkle them. If they're all tummy guys, we don't sprinkle on them. Ela avdi betuma, they bring it betuma. Yochid nami potter. A yochid also would be potter. He'd also be potter from the sprinkling. So the Gemara in a way like this is bringing about a chilik between oral and tummy. What's the chilik? Let's look at Sibur and then see the din of a yachid. Again, what's akasha? Why does Rabbi Eliezer say that someone who's in the ball by a zah is not in the ballpark, a tummy is not in the ballpark, therefore there's no machshiri mitzvah, we don't do azah. Yet an oral's who's not in the ballpark, we expect him to do a bris milah. What's the difference between the two? After the Gemara, I'll tell you the difference. It's a nice difference. Whatever a tzibur is, a yachid is. Whatever a yachid is, a tzibur. It works both ways. So now, let's view the two discussions at hand: an oral and a tummy mace. An oral. If all Kal Yisrael are arelim, would we say nitchel Pesach Sheni and don't bring Pesach Rishon? No. Why would we say get yourself a milah? Therefore, if a yachid's like that, why do we tell the yachid? Get yourself a milah. Tameh. Everyone Kal Yisrael is tameh. Do we say get yourself spritzed? Nope. We say do it betuma. Why do we tell a yachid? Don't get yourself spritzed, you're pata. That's the chilik between the two. That's the chilik between the two. It's a lamdish chilik. Fighter. Amal Rav Huna Breder Yeshua, says Rav Huna Breder Yeshua l'Rava, for a Pesach Sheni, the lesser b'tzibur v'isa b'yachid. You want to say everything the yachid and the tzibur are synonymous. Pesach Sheni is only b'yachid, not b'tzibur. Amalei, that's not a kasha. Shani Hassam the avalei tzibur b'rishon. The reason that the tzibur is not for Pesach Sheni, they don't need to be. It's unnecessary to be in Pesach Sheni. They're in Pesach Rishon. So therefore, they're not the same. Mesidei. Yochel, I might think, lo yehi onish karis. I might think, okay, where's the kasha now? Let me bring the pasuk again. Perik Tes, pasuk Gimel. The ish, again, for those people who have art school gemaras from the Ois Bahadar, use the inside, they bring the psukim. That's one of the best things of the Gemara. They always bring, in yeshiva, I was always lazy to go up and get a chumash to look up the pasuk. So they created, and I guess I wasn't the only one because they brought gemaras that they took away that laziness. They enabled you. All the gemaras was manazeh have the psukim inside. Okay, so now, what does the pasuk say? Listen up. This is the pasuk of Pesach Sheni. It says, it's going through the pasha. It says B'chodesh hasheni ba'arba'as. I'm just going a few pesukim before. B'chodesh hasheni ba'arba'as yoyim ben abayim yasu asay al matzos meroyim echluhu. In the second year, the second month, Pesach Sheni, on the Yudalid Iyar, Yom ben abayim yasu asay matzos meroyim echluhu lo yashim ben abayke ve'etzem lo yishbur. So the din of Pesach Sheni is the same in Pesach Rishon, in matzah, in mara, in shvius etzem. All the chukim. Now it says on that for ish asher hu tahar. Now it didn't have to say ish. It just could simply have said and va'asher hu tahar ubederech lehaya. The word ish is extraneous because again, obviously we're speaking about people because the pasuk before is speaking about Pesach Sheni bringing it. So the word ish is extra. V'ish asher hu a tahar b ubederech lehaya and then v'chad aliyah is then b'nechvasa. So I would think the only people who are chayiv karis are people who are what? Who are tahar and don't bring it, or people who are physically a distance away. Says the Gemara, Mesivei. Yachal, I might think, lo yehi onish karis, ela shahaya tahar, ushlahaya b'derech rechayka. Only a person that was tahar or b'derech rechayka, those people get karis. Oral v'tamei sheretz. Shar kol tamei minayin. How do I know an oral who failed to circumcise themselves? A tamei sheretz who had time to go ahead and go to the mikvah, and he didn't. And how do you know they get karis? Tamid loima v'ho'ish. The word v'ish, the extra word v'ish. Now, guys, listen to this lumdis. Midakamahader at tamei sheretz. When we're going back and saying that tamei sheretz should be what? Should be chayiv. It must be he had the ability to go ahead what? And cleanse himself. Outside, guys, outside. Look at me. What does it mean? Ein sheichten v'zarkin al tamei sheretz or tamei meis. You know what that means? Means we won't shecht for you. Don't do a hazah. We won't shecht for you. Go to Pesach Sheni. That's what it means. What does it mean? Sheichten v'zarkin. It means even though as of yet you have not gone to the mikvah, even though of yet you have not had a hazah, we will shech the carbon for you. We will shech the carbon for you. That's what it means. Guys, again one more time. If ain't sheichten, that means you're going to Pesach Sheni. I'm not taking care of you now. Sheichten means that what? That you're chayiv now. I'm going to shech it for you now. You take care of your issue. You get gemalit. You go get hazah. You go to the mikvah. Whatever it takes to get rid of your problem, take care of it. That's what sheichten means. Good? Now, why do we just say? We just put a pasuk, and if they don't do it, right? If they don't do it, they're chayiv karis. So who are we thinking about? Sheichten or ain't sheichten? Says the Gemara. When we go to make a person tamei sheretz chayiv, kasava, it must mean ein sheichten v'zarkin al tamei sheretz. That must be you don't do it. The sheichten v'zarkin al tamei sheretz. Lamali, why do you need a pasuk la dorelaha? Hainu tahar. Guys, watch. If you shecht, you're shechting. Watch. You have over here. Let's say Heshi is completely tahar. I'm tamei meis and Benji's tamei sheretz. Good. And the kahanim are shechting akabonis for us. Yeah. Good. Do I need a pasuk to tell me that if I don't clean up my act and Benji doesn't clean up his act, that we're chayiv? We're the same as Heshi. We're tahar. They're shechting for us. If they're shechting for us, obviously, then what? Then we're in the ballpark. If we're in the ballpark, I don't need a pasuk to tell me I'm chayiv kares. Of course I'm chayiv kares. Ella must be, they hold ein sheichten, the ein zarkin. So that's what the Gemara says. That we hold that what? And now, why are what? Why would we didn't take care of it? The ish sheichten v'zarkin tamei sheretz. Meaning, guys, it must be ain't sheichten v'zarkin. So why we chayiv kares? Because since we didn't take care of it, we're not going to be the Korban Pesach for us. Once you say sheichten v'zarkin, guys, I can't be chayiv kares anymore. I bought the Korban Pesach. It was bought for me. They did shchita. They did zrika. They brought it. When you tell me over here you can be chayiv karis, why? Because of a pasuk, it must be that they will not shech for us, and therefore we didn't bring the carbon because we didn't take care of our problems, our issues. So in the scenario I drew with Heshi, myself, and Benji, I be chayiv karis because I didn't go ahead. Well, I didn't go to the mikvah. Benji, I forgot what you are. Benji be chayiv karis because he didn't have azah. Either way, we should have taken care of it, and we didn't. With chayiv karis. So the fact that we need a limud is going along the lines of Ein Shirkim Zagot Tamisheretz, Ein Shirkim Zagot Tamis. Now, Lama Lidur Allah Hainutar, Alma, what do we see? Afa Gav Chazi, even though we're both not in the ballpark, Benji and myself, Chiyuva Lecha, V'Afa Gav Lesa B'Tzibur, the Tzibur, guys, the Tzibur B'Tuma in this scenario, they're bringing it. They're bringing it. So what do we say? What was Rabbi Eliezer's rule of thumb? Guys, let's go back. It's a difficult Gemara. Let's go back. What was the difference between Hazah and Oral? Oral, if all the tzibur are reilim, we tell them go get a mikvah, go get a milah. Me also, if I'm not, go get a milah. On the other hand, if we're all tamei, the tzibur brings it, and therefore I'm pata. Over here, clearly, right, we're saying the opposite. The tzibur is bringing it betuma, and I and Benji betuma we're chayiv kares. But why? If the tzibur is bringing it, we should go at Pesach Sheni. So you see, the rule of thumb is not true. As I read the Gemara. And for the Gemara, Lo'ilam Amarava, Ella Amarava, Kasav Rebbe Eliezer, Sheichnim V'Zarkin Al Tamei Sheretz. You take a wood. Now you have a kasha. For who adil Tamei Meis B'Shvi? Shaloi Hazah. Now, Shaloi. Meis B'Shvi Shaloi Kama. Now, question. So, L'chayr, what do you need a pasuk for, right? Hazah Lamai. Why do we need Hazah? Guys, if you hold that you shecht and do zrika, I was yoytze my chiyuv of korban Pesach, even though I can't eat it. Sheichtim v'zarkin al tamei meis. Sheichtim v'zarkin al tamei sheretz. Good. Why would I have to go to the mikvah? Why would you need hazah to eat it? To eat it. Says the Gemara on that. It says lamai hazah lamai. What does hazah come for? La'achila. Achilas psachim loy ma'akva. Achilas psachim is not ma'akiv from bringing it. There's a mitzvah to eat the korban Pesach, but if I don't bring it, now look at Tosfos, the top line of Tosfos. Achilas psachim loy ma'akva pirish. B'chi haygavna, in this scenario, it's not ma'akiv. Sheish biyod letaken atzmai ve'enim etaken loy ma'akva. Aval b'tamei gomor ma'akva. But a tamei gomer, in other words, the guy, let's say it's day 5, then it would be ma'akiv. We wouldn't bring sheichtim v'zarkin on a person who could possibly be tahor be'erev. A person tamei gomer not. Then the achila would be ma'akiv, and we won't bring the carbon. Okay, so very good. So now you had a kasha. You asked on maybe you see that the tzibah is bringing betuma, and you're going ahead on and tzibah is bringing betuma, and you're chayiv karis. No. Chayiv kares because ain't sheichtim b'zarkin al tamasiba, because that's not the case. It is taka sheichtim b'zarkin, and therefore, if I'm not metakim myself, if I don't bring it, I'm chayiv kares, because they could have brought it for me, and if they don't bring it for me, I'm chayiv kares. We said a mishnah, a pesach has to be geshachtim for people who can eat it, and if you're going to tell me that you shecht for zarkin on people who can Tamei, but they don't take care of it, they can't eat it, so it's a zaytik problem. This means the choylul is zaken, chazi. Right? It means someone who cannot eat it any which way. A person who's an oral, a person who's tamei, chazi. He wasn't metaking himself. Forget the oral. The person who has azah, or go to the mikvah, they have the capacity to be metaking. Rabbi Akiva said that anything you could have done by b'yoyim, it's not like a Shabbos. You could have bought the Pesach. You could have carried it on your shoulders. Anything that is, you couldn't have done like Shita is like a Shabbos. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, Halach Rabbi Akiva, the Halach Rabbi Akiva, V'tanan Nami Gabi Mila and Perek Rabbi Eliezer Mila, Ki Agavna, Chalam Rabbi Eliezer, Chol Malach Hashem Shla Sois Meir Shabbos, such as bringing the knife, ain't a doiches a Shabbos, not doiches Shabbos. Mila Sheyev Shla Sois Meir Shabbos. Mila is like Shita, literally, right? So you can't go ahead and bring it. They have doiches a Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda Marav, Halacha Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Yehuda says the Rav in both places. He says the Halacha Rabbi Akiva by Mila, and the Halacha Rabbi Akiva by Shchitas Pesach. It's tricky. You need to tell me both scenarios. Di Ashmin and Gabi Pesach. I wouldn't know Mila. Hasam over there mitzvah like Dafi Hasam who the Machshir mitzvah like Dafi Shabbos. You shouldn't like Nichosula Shleishasi Brisles. Over there Machshir mitzvah is not Dafi Shabbos because it doesn't say in the parsha of Lech Lecha 13 times the lashon of Mila. Aval Mila the Nichosula Shleishasi Brisles in Pashas Lech Lecha 13 times. Maybe their Machshir mitzvah would be Daicha, and you would be able to bring the knife on Shabbos. So Emelitchi Viashmina Mila Hasam Hud Machshir mitzvah like Dacha. Shabbos the leka karis. There's no chi of karis. Aval Pesach nika karis ema litchi tzricha. You have to tell me.
Shabbos.
Rabbi, just remind me one quick thing, just what you said, that any mitzvah that could be done before Shabbos